Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Robertson, Mr. Chair, councillors. I'm Cleta Brown. I'm a member of the Green Party of Vancouver and a candidate. Sorry. And I'm a candidate for City Council. I'm speaking in favor of Councillor Carr's motion, and there'll be no math in my brief presentation. With respect to the first part, I urge you to give considerable weight to the importance of Vancouver maintaining its reputation, a reputation beyond reproach or concern when it comes to gambling. Vancouverites are at best skeptical of gambling, and clearly there's no strong consensus in favor of gambling. So in my view, at the very least, Vancouverites expect the highest standards of conduct and reputation in the people who are associated with gambling in this city. If a destination gambling resort is a good thing, it certainly should be perceived to be strictly managed. The gentleman referred to in this motion has been found to have acted contrary to conflict of interest requirements and to have conducted himself in an ethically dubious manner. I would not utter any remarks that maybe could have concern to Councillor Reimer regarding Mr. Graydon, but I would point out that he was found to have been in a conflict of interest. The Minister of Finance did declare that his conduct fell short of the standards that one would expect of a senior executive. The BC Lottery Corporation has demanded that he pay back certain monies that the board would not have given had they received full disclosure, and that this payback would provide redress for the monies paid to him based on his incomplete representations. The provincial government has accepted these findings, expressed its disapproval, and as I said, made a demand. In my opinion, Mr. Graydon's continued presence could negatively impact the reputation and business of gambling in the city.
Point of order. Yeah, sorry, I was distracted.
Okay.
Ms. Brown, you're not in a position to use that podium for comments that could be seen as defamatory or impugning the motives.
All right. The finding of conflict, I would also point out, arises from the very employment that is the subject of today's motion. It is not a minor conflict that is unrelated to the matter at hand. It is not worth the risk, in my view, and I cannot conceive of a sound reason to remain quiet about this relationship to a major gambling operator in our city. And so I urge this council to issue the recommendation in the motion. With regard to the second part of the motion, I would like to remind you of just 2 points: that gambling has substantial health implications and is a public health issue, as was clearly explained in Dr. Kendall's reports and others, and that there is a legal precedent for restrictive covenants on properties to limit or prohibit certain activities on those properties. And such a covenant in this case would firmly buttress the intentions and unanimous bylaw adopted by the previous council limiting the nature and extent of gambling at the Edgewater Casino. Dr. Kendall and other doctors, medical professors, and eminent citizens of Vancouver advised the previous council in very strong terms about the public health risks of inadequately restrained gambling. It's extremely significant that the location of this casino will be in a high-density area with an increasing population of families, including children and youth. The addition of a restrictive covenant, as put forth in this motion, would support and strengthen the wise decision made by the previous council. With respect to the criticism that the covenant would be redundant, I would strongly disagree. It's a very different beast than a bylaw. We have, as has been told to you, inconsistency between bylaw and policy, and in law, redundancy is often prudent, a belt and suspenders approach. And I would advocate that it's appropriate here. It would, in tandem with the first part of the motion, send a strong, unequivocal signal to the community, to potential gamblers and gambling organizations, that Vancouver demands the highest standards of conduct and the highest standards of public health for its citizens and visitors. This motion sends the right message that Vancouver puts the health and reputation of our city and residents at the top of our priorities wherever gambling is concerned. I urge you to vote in favor of the motion. Thank you very much for providing me with the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you. Councillor Carr'a has a question for you.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Ms. Brown, for being here. You are a lawyer. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned something about redundancy in legal or in law. Mm-hmm. Redundancy has advantages. I wonder if you could just elaborate on that.
Well, I think Judge Pittsfield also referred to them. The fact that there is one process to ensure a certain behavior or prohibit a certain behavior is often not seen as sufficient. Personalities change, circumstances change, but if you want to try and achieve as close to absolute certainty as one can and try and cover off all possibilities foreseen and unforeseen, it is not uncommon for there to be what in some science is called built-in redundancy. The law kind of, as I say, calls it belts and suspenders. It's better than one versus the other. And in this case as well, I'm advocating that it sends a very strong message.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. So, any further questions for staff before we get on to debate? Councillor Ball.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Judge.